So Spider-Man on the PS4 was one of the best games I've played this generation, and definitely something that I want to see more of on the PlayStation 5, hopefully in terms of sequels. So you can only imagine my surprise when I found out that there's actual rumors going on about Insomniac Games' upcoming Marvel Spider-Man game on the PlayStation 5, and some really juicy details here that I really want to cover, including of course a possible release date, a possible reveal as soon as this summer, as well as many details about some of the characters that might make an appearance in the game, and even better, some really interesting mechanics, including for web swinging and animations that are probably going to get you very excited. That is why we're gonna go over all of these details. So if you enjoyed this video, a thumbs up on it would be super awesome, but let's get started with the actual release date, which apparently, according to the user over here, Utopian Throwaway 90, that posted this yesterday, this is going to be a holiday 2021 release, rumored to be somewhere around September, just like how it was with the PS4 Spider-Man game about a couple of years ago. And it kind of already sounds too soon. I mean, it's already been 2 years, it's going to be next year at the end of it, and it sounds so soon all of a sudden, but it does sound really exciting, and it does sound like something that I would have speculated. I don't think you need to like have a rumor or anything to speculate on the fact that yeah, it's probably going to happen sometimes after 2021, so be it maybe late 2021 or maybe even 2022. Like, I can totally see September happening. It's, you know, just 3 years, but yeah, Insomniac Games does move fast. It took them like 5 years to develop the first one, so they already have the basics, they already have the foundation, they just have to expand upon it, so it would probably make sense. But honestly, I was expecting mostly 2022, so it also took me a bit by surprise. And nonetheless, we should have a reveal this summer according to the same user, which again, this sounds even more urgent than anything, though it would make a ton of sense. So taking into account the fact that Sony had a pretty underwhelming presentation this past few days, and the fact that obviously their console is not going to be as powerful as the Xbox Series X, they would probably you know, have all the interest in the world to actually reveal some really impressive titles. And I think there's no better one that, of course, Spider-Man 2, maybe God of War 2 as well, maybe some other games too, but definitely Spider-Man 2, which would place it somewhere around E3, or in this case around whenever Sony has its own conference or presentation. So I am expecting to see a few seconds over there, nothing too over the top. I don't think they're going to show a gameplay trailer, if at all, but it's probably going to be like a few seconds followed by, you know, expected release date, holiday 2021 or somewhere along those lines. Obviously it's going to be a full, complete single player experience, no online co-op, which was already obvious, as Insomniac Games made it more than obvious with the first game as well. But it seems that there's some really interesting details about its map size as well as its story. So let's go over the map size and the fact that, according to this rumor right here, the new game is also going to include Queens as well as Brooklyn, which are currently inaccessible in the current game on the PS4, as you only have access to the Manhattan Island. So it would definitely open up the game a little bit more. It would definitely make things more interesting, a lot more new areas, interesting ones, not just skyscrapers. So it would definitely be awesome. And apparently there's going to be some new web swinging mechanics to kind of facilitate all of that low building traversal that obviously is the case with Queens and Brooklyn. And later down the line he explains about something called a swinging web chain, and what this is, it basically kind of sounds like the Amazing Spider-Man to me. So you can basically chain together web zips, and when you reach the point, Spider-Man will immediately zip to the next one, and so on. So the reason I said that this sounds kind of like Amazing Spider-Man, especially 2, is because you would just, you know, zip and hold the button, and then Spider-Man do his thing. He would just, you know, continue to do the zip continuously. It definitely looks cinematic, but it was definitely not my favorite feature. So I don't really think I like taking away the control from the player with these sorts of things. So hopefully if they do add something like this, it's going to be an alternative to doing it manually as well, or something like that. Nonetheless, in terms of web swinging in general, this is something that the company is rumored to heavily focus on. So apparently web swinging is going to get overhauled, and they're going to go all out with the animation tag this time, so we won't see the same animations as much. There's going to be more variety according to the rumor, and not only are they bringing the animations from the PS4 over for the swing releases, they're adding many more, with a heavy emphasis on many. So it sounds exciting. I mean, the reason why there were fewer animations on the PS4 release and why there were a few restrictions on the web swinging and speed in general was because of that hardware limitation on the PS4, but that should be removed on the PS5, since the SSD tag on this one is going to be absolutely crazy, even better at least on paper than the Series X. So what this means is that because of this faster streaming on the PS5, Insomniac Games would have a much better time at making the swinging in general feel much faster, much better, and with a lot more momentum. Like one of the examples that I'm going to give on the current generation and the current game on the PS4 is the fact that at the end of the pendulum, especially following a very deep dive at a very high speed, once you release that at the end of the swing, it kind of feels like all that momentum and all that speed that you build up isn't all fully taken into account, and oftentimes it feels like the game is purposefully kind of slowing you down, which really breaks the moment. Nonetheless, there's going to be 2 animators fully devoted solely for the web release animation throughout the entire development cycle, and honestly this sounds really amazing for one reason. If you ever played Batman Arkham Knight, you probably know about the fact that the studio had one single animator that only worked on the cape, on its physics and its animations to make it as good as possible. So yeah, in this case, Insomniac Games is going with a similar route, as in focusing a ton of time, effort and quality in one of the most defining features of the game, and in this case of course the hero as well. Anyway, on a final note about web swinging, apparently there's going to be 3 swinging modes that you can choose from, including realistic, arcade and hybrid, and here's where I'm kind of casting a shadow of doubt because it kind of sounds unfeasible. So yeah, I'm not really sure if Insomniac Games is going to do that. They always enjoy doing their own approach, but you know what, I'm just gonna play along. Nonetheless, these names are of course not finalized, so they are subject to change, but realistic is supposed to be very close to how it is in Spider-Man 2, as in pure physics based. Arcade mode is going to be with fake assistance, so a little bit overboard compared to how it is on the PS4 right now, and finally the hybrid is going to be a merge of the two, so basically PS4's web swinging. Anyway, let's go over some of the characters and details that are set over here because it sounds really interesting what's going to happen. Of course, many of these could easily be speculated by just, you know, going over the build-up that the first game sets for the second one, including with everything that happened at the end, and especially the Osborns. But it's apparently going to be set during the winter, approximately 5 to 6 months after the first game, when Peter is still in mourning after, you know, losing on May and constantly reminding himself about what happened in the first one. MJ apparently is still going to be a part of this. She and Peter live together, but she is going to be missing at least in the first act of the story, which raises the question, are we going to still have those detective moments with her in the second game as it was with the first one, and also are they going to be more expanded upon? Because sometimes, even though it proved to be a nice distraction from just swinging and fighting, MJ's arsenal, let's say, felt a bit too restrictive and she seemed a bit, you know, useless. I mean, everything she did could have easily be done by Spider-Man, but I'm just gonna leave it at that. Nonetheless, as far as Osborn and Oscorp go, apparently Oscorp is attempting to clone certain DNA to build a super soldier. Something goes wrong and new villains spawn from this, and yeah, New York is probably gonna be infested again by some villains. Harry Osborn is going to finally, you know, be on camera, like for real this time, and he is apparently going to play the major part of of becoming actually Venom, which is something that the first game kind of built towards anyway, with what appeared to be the Venom suit, but in this case Venom was created by Osborn, and as a reason to actually cure his son for a condition that apparently is killing him. So something that really sounds interesting. Apparently there's going to be a unique spin on this character, and yeah, he is going to become Venom, or at the very least he is going to facilitate the creation of Venom, because later down the line there's a mention of Eddie Brock being a major character in the game, so I could see like Harry being kept alive by the suit, by the symbiote at first, and then somehow, you know, kind of shedding off of him and yeah, merging with Eddie Brock to actually create the real Venom, though I'm not entirely sure how that is going to happen. But what's really interesting is the fact that the rumor also mentions Mysterio making an appearance, and also Carnage. It seems that both of these are going to be in the game, though not much detail is said about their screen time, about if they're actual bosses or not, or if they're just built up for possible DLCs or a third installment of the game. But it does sound really interesting, and I really want to see more of the Venom and Carnage story. But yeah, again, it seems like there's a lot of story condensed into one single game, though I'm not entirely sure if that's not a little bit too much, especially since we also have Oscorp attempting to clone those super soldiers. And let's not forget about Miles Morales, which he was a character that the game heavily built up towards, and something that is most probably going to be playable in the second game. Apparently there's going to be playable sections in Spider-Man 2, and Insomniac Games, also according to the rumor, is still unsure whether to let the player free roam as Miles Morales, or yeah, just throw him in the sections of the game and not leave us with a free roam, which would sound really annoying from my perspective. They did all of this build up for the character. I really want to have some sections with him and just you know, control him entirely. Kind of like how it was in Arkham Knight, when at certain times you had control over other members of the Bat family, just like how the rumor implies over here. So I would love to see a switch between him and Miles Morales at certain times, or maybe even like completely free. What if we had that? What if a Spider-Man game finally did that and let us switch between whichever character we wanted, as that would be really awesome. Anyway, this is it with the rumor. This all looks spectacular, no pun intended. Obviously just rumors, so nothing 100% confirmed. Anyway, leave your comment down below if I missed anything. As always, if you enjoyed this video, a thumbs up on it would be super awesome, and I will see you guys in the next one.